Welcome back, Earthlings. I originally recorded another intro for this next guest. I started it off with, if you get this artist and this artist and a little bit of this artist, that's what I feel this next guest sounds like. After listening to it, when I went to edit the video, I was like, yeah, this is stupid. This is absolutely stupid. The thought of comparing today's guest with any of these artists is not fair to our guest. Our next guest is not a mixture of this musician and that musician and this other musician as if he's not original. He is original. He's a one of a kind, and his music is just beautiful. Please welcome to Live Terminally, Chris Staples. To Live Terminally, a podcast about changing your mindset and rediscovering life. You'll be better for it. Welcome to the show, Chris Staples. Thank you so much for being on this show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm
Doing
excited.
well? You doing good tonight?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Yeah, got a little thunderstorm rolling through unexpectedly, so we'll just see how that goes. So, yeah.
Don't you love thunderstorms, though?
I do. Yeah, it's kind of comforting.
Like you said, yeah, comforting about them. I love them. Not being native to Florida, I'm from California originally, so we'd be lucky to get a couple a year in the mountains.
Yeah.
When I experienced a Florida summer, which I know you've experienced, blew my mind, and I miss them I miss the thunderstorms if I were to go out west. I don't know if I miss Florida.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, we don't get that. I live in Virginia now. We don't get lightning and thunder very much here, but yeah, in Florida growing up, I lived there until I was maybe 20, 21 or something, and it was the summers especially were really rainy and stormy and stuff.
They're pretty crazy. They're crazy.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it. So you said you're from Florida, Pensacola area, right?
Yeah, like Fort Walton Beach area.
Okay. How in the world did you get into music?
Well, my mom was a church organist and pianist, and she taught piano students in my house growing up. So I was, and she played piano when she was like pregnant with me and my sisters. So it was like music was all around me all the time, and I never really took much interest in kind of learning the theory, or even I didn't ever took piano lessons from her, which is I kind of regret a little bit. But just like I feel like that was a little bit of an education, just hearing those chords. She was kind of like an improvisational Baptist. She played a lot of Baptist hymns, but kind of an improvisational style. So
nice.
Just like hearing chords my whole life, and her like feeling it out. Like I think it was a little bit of like a immersion in music, and and then I started playing guitar as a middle schooler, and just really loved it and kept going.
So then, what did you want to be when you were a small child? Like when I grow up, I want to be.
I think it was music from maybe, I'm not sure how young, but maybe like 10, 9 or 10. I think I knew that I wanted to do that. So yeah, and it just kind of stuck with me. I worked a lot of jobs as a adolescent and as a young person. I worked in construction for like 20 years, but I always wanted to get back to music, and so it was always kind of in my mind that I wanted to focus on that.
So it was always your plan A, you never really had a plan B? It was kind of...
Yeah. Like I mentioned, I worked in construction for a really long time, and I kind of realized at a certain point, I was like, I either need to like own a construction company or manage a construction company. Like that's the direction. And I didn't want to do that at all. And it was still music. Like it was like still a bug for me that I couldn't get rid of. And someone asked me the other day, they were like, do you have a hard time, like enjoying new music, or like that I'm like burnt out on music or something? And I'm like, no, this is like my religion. Like, I love music. And it's probably I'm more excited about it than I was when I was younger still. So
Do you find that as you become older and mature and, I know tastes change and mature, but do you find that you get satisfaction out of certain types of music that, or styles of music that you would have never found any interest in 20 years ago?
yeah, definitely. Um, I I'm just like thinking. This reminds me of like I was trying to think back of all the different eras of music that I kind of, or different like phases of music. I mean, I'm sure everyone's like that. They're like
Mm-hmm.
into certain things in high school and maybe college at something else, and then like everyone has kind of a most like music listeners have kind of an evolution. Um, there was this. I moved to Seattle in like 2005, and they have like a crazy public library system there,
Mm-hmm.
and I went. This is like before streaming music and stuff, and so I went there, and they were like, after you've had a library card for 3 months, we up it from like 5 items to 100 items, and I was like, you can check out 100 items.
That's
That's
crazy.
insane. Like, and I was like just like talking with them about it, and they just like upped my limit to 100 like almost immediately. And there was like in the downtown Seattle library, they have this floor and it's all CDs. And it's
Oh,
like,
wow.
so I would go there with like grocery bags and like like I would take 100 CDs home and just rip them all on my computer, and then come back the next week and get 100 more. And it was like world music and like jazz and
That's
like
awesome.
and like just like whatever. Like there was no harm in like just listening through stuff. And
No.
yeah, like I got into like Tito Puente big band music,
Yeah.
and that's like never been on my radar
Well, how else would
before
it,
then or since really.
how would
But
it ever have been able to be on your radar had you not had that opportunity?
yeah,
That's
and
funny.
like there's this Tito Puente album called Night Beat, and
Yeah.
it's like just the craziest music. Like it's really
That's crazy.
frantic and like just powerful stuff. But anyway,
When,
so
when I was young, you and I actually have a very similar, I mean, in this short time we've talked, background. I've always wanted to be a musician. I just didn't have the balls to follow through like you did. Um, but when I was a kid, man, I'd be like, I don't know, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I would lock myself in my room and I'd listen to, Pink Floyd, Rush, Dire Straits,
yeah.
Zeppelin, all those classic rock bands that, um, proggy a little bit. I just get lost in their music. But I, I didn't have, I'm like 12. So I would go to Kmart and Long's Drugs and I'd always wear these baggy cargo pants or shorts. And I had it like down to where I would take the flap over the pocket and tuck it in the pocket, grab a tape, and I'd be walking along, and as my hand would cross my pocket, I'd just drop the tape right into my pocket and walk out the door. And I stole all my original music, every
Wow.
every CD or tape cause I had no money, I was broke, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like a good Christian boy, I my whole record or tape collection back in the day was all stolen until I think I got to high school. I got busted for it once and yeah, peed my pants a little bit, scared the shit out of me. But that's another story for another time.
How was like Rush and like this prog music? How was that like on your radar to begin with? Like,
It was a direct influence of my brother and his wife. They're a little older than me, and they introduced me to Rush and like Styx, and actually
yeah.
they introduced me to all that music. but when it's kind of like, lighting a match in a dry field. It only took like a song and I was just hooked. And
Yeah.
it's like a whole nother world, but it's crazy, years later, the music I play sounds nothing like it. Maybe a little, Gilmore stuff here and there, a very poor attempt at it. But, uh, yeah, it's crazy. It's otherwise, from a small, tiny little town in Northern California, there's no, there's no way I would ever heard of any of those bands, except for maybe Floyd. But
Yeah. It's kind of a thing I hear sometimes people say that they have an older brother or someone who's like, yeah, like a couple grades up and they're like,
yeah,
no. And so you kind of get an early taste of it, of like some new music or whatever.
the only stuff I'd really hear a lot of was like Def Leppard and Motley Crue and all that kind of music, and it just never did anything for me. It just always sounded very insincere and commercial.
Yeah.
But I liked. I think that's probably why I connected with your music so fast because we'll get into it. But yeah, it's good stuff. So being a performing artist comes with a great degree of uncertainty. Knowing this, why do you do what you do, and what keeps you going? And especially in the music business where it's extremely rewarding, but God, is it hard?
Yeah. Well, like I think everyone wants to do a job that they're feel called to, to
Mm-hmm.
feel like they're making some kind of special contribution, the best thing that they can do in the world. And I think I just felt like when we were just talking about being kids listening to music and kind of just like the way it made me feel, it was like transcendent. And like nothing has ever really done that for me. So I think like it's just always been with me. And it's like I'm always wishing I were doing it when I'm not doing it, sort of.
I get it.
And, and, um, I think the hard part about it is like if you're not all in or like kind of half committed, then it's like you kind of feel kind of torn because you're kind of going back and forth. And I spent many years doing that, kind of having an identity crisis about it. Like, what am I doing? And
Mm-hmm.
God, this is a huge mistake. And like kind of I just need to go get a job and like and I would do that and kind of go back and forth. And it's probably only in the last like 5 years where that kind of settled down. Um, I'm pretty like just focused on it now. But um, yeah, I think just like the creative part of it is just like super fun and fulfilling for me. And like as I've taken the pursuit more seriously in some ways, like professionally, but at the same time I've become less serious about I just like have fun with it and there's less of a block now. There isn't really a creative block anymore. At least in the last maybe several years. So I just like have fun with it and that's been pretty liberating to just kind of not have a super critical voice
Mm-hmm.
going all the time. But
I could tell that from your videos. You're
yeah, they're pretty silly.
they're they're good though. They're very good. But yeah, I could tell that you're just like, fuck it, I'm going to enjoy my life, and this is going to be a fun video. Even though the content of the song is kind of, you know, it's not like a poppy upbeat song. It's still, but the video is light. There's a very, juxtaposition with it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
do you think?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I I can just go on forever if you let me, but there
No one wants to hear from me.
no, of course, like there's like this thing in movies now where like there's these dramas and they're like really really funny, but they're also like gut punch movies,
Mhm.
and I'm
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I think that's really cool, like that people are doing that now, and it's like I kind of want that with music, to be kind of serious
Yeah.
and for the music to kind of represent the way a real person is. Like a real person
Mhm.
isn't like serious all the time, or like a friend of yours is they're a range, they're happy and they're sad and everything in between. So I
Yeah.
think with music, I want to try to represent like that real kind of person, I guess. I don't
I
know.
you say that, and I think that you do that well because, in my opinion, everybody can identify with sad music or with melancholy music because everybody knows sadness. Everybody knows the downer feels, the downer moods.
Yeah.
But you're able to mix in the like even with some of the sounds that you use. They're it's a very um, melancholy song, but then like the horns that you'll throw in or the just the tone of the synth that you have playing in the background. I didn't think we'd talk about this, but I should have wrote down a track or two that I didn't expect to hear that tone, but it's nice. It's refreshing. Um, so I think you are very effective in coming at it from the melancholy side and then bringing the happy in later for those of us who maybe have a harder time experiencing or feeling happy.
Yeah.
Instead of just punching them in the face with like, "Hey, you better fucking smile," and then
Yeah.
here's a sad song for you. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I guess sometimes like when I'm tracking a song, I'll forget that it's a sad song, and then I'll just put some stuff in there that I think sounds cool, and then I'm like, oh, that's
it works.
whatever. Like it's just you just put it all in there, and it's like a gumbo.
Someone
Somehow
said,
it tastes good.
was it? I can't remember who said it, but whatever your instinct is, whatever your initial reaction is, and if it seems like it's just stupid or silly or just that's probably what you should go with. Um,
Yeah, I would,
I want to
I believe that.
I want to say it was oh, that famous producer with the big long beard. He just released a book. Excellent
Oh
guy.
yeah,
I
I
want to
bought
say
the book, and why
it's
can't I
totally
remember
slipping.
his name? He's like the biggest producer
Pretty
ever, Rick
much.
Rubin.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
If we weren't recording this, I could think of it immediately. it's the the ominous record button.
yeah,
So
um,
do you
yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
do you think that you could be legitimately you if you weren't following your dream by playing music? Or do you think that
Um,
the if I was to talk to Chris Staples right now and you weren't following your music, do you think you'd be a different person?
yeah, probably. I probably would be a different person. Um, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I guess if I found something else that I like doing as much, but that's not very likely. So,
Yeah, I guess not so if you're playing the music.
yeah. Um, yeah, like when I was working a lot of construction, like it was hard. This is kind of, I don't know if this is like too, it's not like super personal, but I don't know if this is boring, but like I couldn't like, I was like working for a company and I couldn't like communicate well with like the clients that much because I didn't feel like I should be there, sort of. Not that
Mm-hmm.
I was like special or something, but I just wanted to be doing something else.
Hmm.
And it was kind of like it, yeah, I was working in an occupation that I didn't want to be doing. And so I was kind of in a state of arrested development, like as a person, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like doing this music thing has brought a lot of responsibility and a lot of accountability for, communicating with people and um, kind of steering it, I guess. So I think it has helped me
Mm-hmm.
grow up in some ways and,
Hmm.
I guess, be myself more or something. I'm so busy. I don't have time to try and curate what I say or
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, I just do. I'm living my life, you know. So,
What's a normal day look like for you?
um, well, it kind of changes depending on like where I'm at, but in like right now I have a record coming out, so
Hmm.
I'm self-releasing a record, and it's been a lot of work. So I've been on the computer emailing like for the last month, setting up tours and stuff like that, and so doing a lot of admin stuff. But but when I'm not doing that, I'm usually like rehearsing or writing songs. I'm in a little shed in my backyard.
Hmm.
I built this little music shed,
Nice,
and my house is like maybe like 50 feet that way. So I come out here, work on music and stuff. Um, I've got some guitars and keyboards and stuff in here.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
saw
I
that you
think
had the
I've.
acoustic behind you there.
Oh yeah, yeah. So pretty much what you would expect. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, here's why I think it's important. Because when I was locked in my room listening to, when I say locked in my room, I grew up in a very traumatic um, atmosphere, a lot of abuse, a lot of physical and verbal abuse.
Yeah,
And so I would lock in myself in my room and listen to this music and just escape reality for the moment. Kind of like in your lyric, you had a lyric that said, "The world is burning, or something to this effect. The world is burning or falling apart, but for the moment, I forgot." Um, Nailed it on the head. But the one person who listened to their inner voice and their call, and they followed their calling, would be like, when I was young, would be like Neil Peart or Alex
yeah,
Lifeson or um, David Gilmour. Um, they were, and they'll probably never know. I'll probably never be able to talk to these people. Hopefully, well, obviously not Neil Peart; he's dead. But
yeah.
um, got a tattoo for him on my arm.
Oh,
But
oh, nice.
um, they not been true to their calling, they wouldn't have been influential in my life and really sparked an interest that's lasted an entire lifetime. And so someone like you who's doing it and writing good music and putting on good performances, and there's I really believe there's someone out there, if not multiple people, that will look to you and want to know, what is it that, why, what made him push through and just leave the construction behind and just go for it when it's scary and there is no guarantee, but with no guarantee comes great reward. So that's what I want to get at. I want to know, for for the sake of a listener who's
Yeah,
really on the fence. Here's someone that did it. And so, yeah, your normal day, that you're doing a lot of administrative work is good. It's good to know because most musicians don't want to deal with that. Most
yeah,
musicians don't think that they should have to. But here's someone who has had a long career. I mean, um, you were playing 238 back in what, early 2000s, late 90s.
yeah, yeah. Um, I yeah, I was in a. Well, I could talk about the band history part of it, but I want to get to this question about something I just thought of. Sometimes when you ask me a question, I just like think of something else that's kind of analogous, and
Go for it.
so it's a kind of just like free association type of interview. But like I saw this really cool documentary, and it was like about this husband and wife, and they're both painters, and their
Hmm.
daughter was a painter, and they have like paintings like hanging in like galleries and stuff
Hmm.
all over the world. And I was like thinking like, man, like if you're raised by like people who are artists and or like people that have been doing this forever and you're raised by them, they like mentor you and like how to
Yeah.
think about this and how to dig yourself out of or how to keep going or all this kind of stuff, and like
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, I kind of wish I had had that a little bit because it would have been a lot easier. And so it might have been easier in some ways. But anyway, one of the things they said, the mother in this documentary, and I'll try to find the title of it so I'll email it to you.
Absolutely.
But
That'd be great.
she was just talking about like when you're in the dumps and like you're in a lull, just like you have to like send like 2 emails a week. Like you have to be reaching out and you have to just keep like keep moving. Even if it feels like it's a snail's pace, you're just like
Mm-hmm.
always moving forward on the thing and always kind of know where you're going. And if a door closes, you just move to the next thing and just, like that kind of happened like when I was setting up this tour. Like I had like a kind of a lifelong dream of like um booking this like really famous architectural home in the United States. It's like one of the most prominent architectural spaces, and I was like speaking with one of the people who runs the programming, and like I was supposed to have a release show there and all this stuff, and I was like really really excited about it because it was going to be like bonkers, and then
Mm-hmm.
they just like totally dropped the ball. Or just
Oh.
like, no, we decided no, or whatever,
Oh.
for like whatever reason. So then for like a week, I was like, God damn it. Like, like, I was like really bummed. Like I was like pushing off this, planning the whole record release because I was waiting for this like little thing to be
God.
set. And I was like, well, that was kind of stupid of me to but I really wanted it to happen. But anyway, the point is, it's like, well, whatever,
Yeah.
just move on. Like maybe that's just like
It'll come around.
trying to be an adult about it. But I don't know. It's like there's when you're trying to do something, there's so much failure and disappointment involved,
Mm-hmm.
like every step of the way, like all the time. Um, like I think that's almost like an integral part of it at this point. Like I don't even expect that to go away. And I'm not just talking about that thing. I mean, it's just I'm constantly like kind of running into like walls or things that don't work out, or and
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm taking it less personally now when I'm older, just kind of like just the way it is. So
That's good though, because I mean, if you took everything personally, especially being an artist, when you're a little bit more vulnerable than
yeah,
someone who's just starting a business. Um,
yeah,
it's good to especially hear it from somebody who's seasoned to not take it personally because it can wipe you out, absolutely wipe you
yeah.
out.
And I think like what you were saying about being vulnerable or whatever, it's really hard to, on the one hand, be like vulnerable and doing this thing that is like kind of personal music,
Mm-hmm.
and then also be flexible and try not to get too bummed out. Like those are two kind of conflicting things. Um,
I'm sure, especially if you've had a shitty day, and then you're like, you got to start performing, and there's a certain level of being character,
yeah, yeah,
especially because your songs are the vocals are very soft, and they're very there's a lot of control, and I can imagine if you're not in the right headspace, it's hard to pull that off. Um,
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's sometimes on tour, like just life happens, and you have to still get up there and play or whatever.
do it, yeah.
um, yeah,
I've always thought that for regardless of what someone chooses, whether it's a musician or a chef or physician, attorney, even maybe an accountant, there's going to be about 10 years of just slogging in the trenches. You're going to be broke. You're going to be a
yeah,
nobody. And as long as your heart's in the right place, you'll push through and you'll get through to the other side. And in the arts, if you're passionate about what you're doing, you believe that what you're doing is your calling, you know, um, regardless of what anyone says, as long as you have some talent, I really believe that you'll push through, and you may not be a Coldplay or Beyonce, but you'll you could make a living. You could have a life,
Yeah.
and a life followed. Following your passion is a whole lot better than dying in a cubicle. Um,
Yeah. I think, yeah, I think like knowing the reasons why you want to do something is important because if you're going to do it for as long as it takes, you have to feel like you really want it for those
mhm.
reasons. And even when success does come eventually, that's that's still not going to be the thing that's going to sustain you. You have to kind of want to do it, I think.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but, I think too, like I may have had a lack of options. Like I didn't go to college, and I think that might have helped me a little bit because I didn't have like five things. I wasn't on like a fork in the road where I was like,
Hmm.
doctor, dentist, musician. Like it was like hammer nails or make
Yeah.
music. So
I don't like
it wasn't
sunburns.
that tough of a choice.
Well, but the one thing is just you have a somewhat of a guaranteed. I mean, I guess construction's still a little vulnerable too, but you have
Yeah.
somewhat of a guarantee of a paycheck. Where in the arts, there's unless you're out there really pumping it, it's a little bit harder. But God, is the reward better? I say it like I've done it. Um, I just play, here and there. But let's
Yeah.
talk about Cloud Souvenirs.
Sure.
Drops May 26th.
Yep.
You've allowed me to listen to it, and I've listened to it on repeat. And let me just say, I've been fortunate to meet you. T.W. Walsh said, "Hey, do you know Chris Staples?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. I hadn't heard of you but I'm also new to Florida, and come to find out, we have a small circle." And
Yeah.
he, I instantly looked up your music, started to listen to it, fell in love immediately, and I'm a fan. I'm a big fan now. But Cloud Souvenirs, and I'm not blowing air up your skirt. I'm really not. Um, I think this might just be one of my favorite albums, if not my favorite album this year, or I've heard in a long time.
Oh, right on.
It is it is so good from the first track all the way through to the end to, I want to get lost. Um but the song Burn Out Together, God, is it good? I can't wait for people to hear it. I hope that you
Oh,
have crazy success from it. It is good. It is good.
oh, awesome.
Can you give me some backstory in the process of recording this? Like, where do you do it?
Just like the whole record and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Um, well, so the pandemic happened. Can't can't really talk about making records without talking about the pandemic
Yeah.
for a little bit. But yeah, like that was supposed to be a time when everyone was supposed to be writing records and stuff, but it was like a difficult like what do you write about when you're just sitting around the house? But anyway,
Yeah.
I wrote a bunch of songs in like 2020 and 2021, and it like nothing was like coming together really. And a lot of those songs that I wrote during that era, I just started releasing on my Patreon, like demos and stuff. And then it was in like kind of the spring of 2022, I started writing a bunch of songs really fast that all kind of seemed like they could be a record. And so my mom was getting like pretty sick in Florida. So I was really lucky to be kind of available to go down there a lot. So I was traveling to Florida all the time,
From
and
Richmond or from Virginia?
from
Okay.
Virginia down to Florida. And then so in middle school, I met this guy named Jeremy Griffith, and he was like a football player, and we became really good friends. And he was also a musician. We played in our first band together, and after high school, he went on to like be a producer, and
Hmm.
he worked in a studio in Atlanta for a long time, and then he lived in New York City for a long time. And then he recently moved back to Fort Walton, maybe in the last like 7 or 8 years. But anyway, so I hit him up and I was like, we should make a record together because I'm gonna be in Florida like all the time. And he had his like a addition on his house, which is his home studio.
Hmm.
And and also like I was just like kind of floundering trying to make a record I make a lot of records. All my records I've made by myself, but this time I just couldn't get focused enough. So I was just like, dude, will you produce this for me? And like, so we tracked the whole record in like, I think 8 days or something. So it was like very
Wow.
quick.
Yeah.
And he mixed it like after I left. But so there was like several different sessions over like months. Like I would go over to his house and work for a couple days, and um, but Jeremy's like really musical person. He plays guitar and bass and drums, and he's like his main instrument is synth, and he has like a ton of synthesizers, and he has like this crazy brain where like he remembers like every song and every riff he's ever played in his whole life.
That's
Like
nuts.
he can play all of my songs from 25 years ago and I don't even remember them.
That's
Like
crazy.
it's weird. But so when I would come in there with a song, we would sit down in the morning and I would just like play it for him, and we'd be like, okay. And then we kind of map it out, and then he'd be like, we should try piano or whatever. And like by lunch, the song would be kind of like mostly there, and then after lunch we would just add some stuff. And he would like cycle through some ideas, like he would build a sequence, or he would like play something on the piano or on one of the synths, and like he could just like spit out like 10 ideas in 10 minutes kind of thing.
Don't you hate people
And I
like
would
that?
just be like, what's that?
Don't you hate people like that?
Yeah, like it's it's uh it's interesting. Like I have a musical language that's focused and like very narrow, but he has like a vast language.
Hmm.
But we would land on something, and I'd be like, oh, that's amazing. And so some of my favorite moments on the record are things that he did, and yeah, it was like just like the easiest thing I've
Hmm.
ever worked on. It was just fun the whole time, pretty much. Even though
That's
it
awesome.
sounds kind of like it's kind of a sad-ish record, but
So, um, what? So, I'm sure that what you had to deal with your mom. I'm sure that has to play into the vulnerability and the beauty of this album. Um, would you say?
yeah, for sure. Um, I think like I don't know if like what where's your hometown?
Currently, or where I grew up?
I like where you grew up.
I grew up in Sonora, California. It's up kind of just outside of Yosemite.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you
up
ever
in
go back there?
um, not very often, but because my mom died about actually last week, 10 years ago,
Oh
and
wow.
so I used to go back as often as I could when she was alive, but now I've only probably been back a handful of times. I have a brother
Yeah.
that still lives there, and we still have her house there, but I don't make it back very often. I should probably go
Yeah.
more.
Is it weird when you go there, or is it like do you are you feel pretty like resolved about being there, or is it like does it bring up a lot of things or
It's super weird, man. Everything's really small. Every
yeah.
everything is it brings back a lot of crazy memories, but uh
Yeah.
it I always get the feeling of like, oh, I could never live here again. I
Yeah.
got to get out as fast as of course I kind of had a traumatic experience there, but
Yeah.
um it definitely brings up a lot of memories.
Yeah. That's like basically the way I feel about my hometown, and I would go back every year or two. like pretty regularly,
Mm-hmm.
but every time it was just like super trippy.
Mm-hmm.
And this time I was just going back a lot to see my mom, and um, she got like pretty sick. And I think there was something about being there so much and being there for her that I kind of let like something change where I kind of don't really feel that I don't feel so conflicted about being there now, which
Mm-hmm.
feel like maybe something healed or something. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like so I was there, like I said, on and off, and I was kind of intervening to help make some decisions about things and kind of set some services up for them and for my dad and my mom. And it was like just really, it was really difficult. Like, I don't have kids, and I've never had much, I wouldn't say much responsibility, but I had to like kind of step up in a way I've never
Mm-hmm.
done before. And I didn't think it was possible.
Yeah.
But it was weird. Just like something kind of took over, and I just like managed a lot of things for with my mom and stuff. But yeah, there was just like, yeah, it was, there's some songs kind of about my hometown on there, and stuff about my some like kind of family dynamic type stuff in the record. And um I don't know, like it's hard sometimes because the songs are one way, but but those songs are not like, I didn't write them out like they're supposed to be like
Yeah.
cohesive like poems about
Do
but
you
I feel like there's some themes in there just
do you find that
about
the
for
songs kind of tell you what they're about after you've written them, instead of going
yeah.
into it with this song's going to be about this?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah. There are a lot, like some songs, there's like different sort of three different stories from my life kind of in there sort of.
Nice.
But usually they're not just like about one person. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there just about, I guess, forgiveness and um like just about the shortness of life, and
Yeah. Yeah.
how quickly um it seems to go by. And um I feel like I've talked to a lot of my friends about their parents getting sick, and I just kept thinking like, I'm gonna have to, whatever happens during this phase, like I'm gonna have to think back. I'm gonna have to reflect on it for the rest of my life, and I
Hmm.
only have one chance to kind of
Absolutely.
to choose how I'm gonna be involved in this transition. And so I think, I mean, it was good to be down there, and um, yeah,
I so my day job, um, that I fell into by accident. I'm a physician's assistant, and I specialize in radiology. And just the nature of some of the stuff that I do, I pretty much walk a lot of people into the grave. I see them
yeah,
weekly, and I kind of see them um, either get better or deteriorate. And unfortunately, most of them deteriorate. And so I've
yeah,
noticed over my, I don't know, 15, 16, 17 years that I've done this, that next to the birth of somebody, the birth of somebody I find is obviously the most beautiful time of life. But if you're open to it, death is a close number two. People are always afraid of death. They're always afraid of, the last couple weeks, the last couple months. But if you're open to it, there's such a vulnerability there. There's such a beauty there, and a closeness and an intimacy that maybe wasn't there, pre-diagnosis. And it it has a way of mending all fickle arguments,
hmm,
and really putting into place priorities. Um, and I wish everybody, in that process would not look toward the past or look toward the future, of not being, the future of when their loved one is going to be gone. But put those things out of your mind and be present now, here, today, right now. And you'll realize that God is such a beautiful time. And
Yeah.
the fact that, you were able to do that, I unfortunately wasn't able to be close to my mom when she passed. I went and saw her as much as I could, but I was out here. She was in Northern California, and just
Yeah.
logistics. But um, I can't imagine that it didn't have a huge impact on you, your songwriting, and even just your life outlook, going forward. How would you just, how would you say that it changed your outlook? Like,
Um, well, I guess I'm still kind of figuring that out, but um, what you were saying about um, like during this whole like experience, I was like thinking like about how people are, kind of afraid of dying, and also we're all maybe like programmed to be, we don't want to die. But like I was just thinking like this is like as fundamental as being born.
mhm.
It's like a 1-to-1 correlation. Like
Yeah.
every person who's born is gonna die. It kind of made me be like, how is this like so universal and so kind of discomforting to people and whatever. But yeah, there was like I was my mom was on hospice, and there's a lot of people misunderstand like what hospice actually is.
Mhm.
There was a hospice nurse actually coming to the house like every day for 30 minutes, but like the family member, like a designated family member or multiple family members are like administering drugs and all this kind of stuff, really doing like medical things that like I don't know how they're deputizing people to do it, but like I just kind
Deputizing.
of found myself in this situation where I was like,
Yeah.
okay, and um so I was there and like just kind of going into her room maybe every hour, checking her, giving her medications, and like it was weird like every hour um just going in there and being like, is this going to be the
Hmm.
time, and then finally it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I walked in there and I was just like, yeah, she's definitely gone. And I thought that I saw her breathe one more time, but I don't know if that was like me imagining it or
Hmm.
something. And I was really thankful. My partner is a nurse, and she had flown down to be with me, so she was in the other room, and I went and woke her up, and um, it was, yeah, it was like there was something magical about it in a weird way, because I was like, she's gone. I don't know like where she went exactly.
Hmm.
Um, I don't mean to be like smiling when I'm telling the story, because I mean I've been grieving, and it's been very sad, but there's been a lot of acceptance as well. But but yeah, like the experience of being there when it happened was just like surreal in some
Yeah.
ways.
Absolutely.
Um, and I guess I've never experienced that exactly, but I had kind of been seeing her for a year leading up to it, so I was like
Prepared.
pretty prepared and kind of immersed in
Hmm.
her like decline, I guess. But yeah, like I guess I'm still kind of figuring out how it
Yeah.
affected me, sorting it out, I guess.
Honestly, it's been 10 years for me, and I'm still trying to figure it out. I still haven't
Y-
taken her out of my speed dial. She's still number 2 next to my wife.
Oh,
And
that's sweet.
I've accidentally called her phone a couple times, and I'm sorry whoever's on the other line, but my name's William. Thank you for answering.
Yeah.
um, But yeah, I think it's something. It's a mom shaped, hole that can never be filled, and you spend the rest of your life trying to figure it out. But the beautiful thing is she's still there. She's still with you.
Yeah.
And just like, I don't know how old you are. I imagine we're close to the same age. But just like,
45, 44.
okay, so I'm 44 as well. So just like you're 44, you're still 13. You're
Yeah.
still 3. You still carry some characteristics as, when you were 3 years old, just like you're 44 years old. And your mom, or, losing a loved one or whatever, still goes on with you. And you'll see them in, like, for me, I see my mom in birds or little tiny things that a lot of people overlook. But when I see that, or, I just, it reminds me of her. And so
Yeah.
she's always there. But
Yeah.
thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you
yeah.
for sharing that. I definitely think it played a good role in the production and writing of this record. I think I think people are going to like it, and I hope
Yeah.
people listen to it. And it's good. It's really good. I'm grateful to T.W. Walsh for, hey, have you heard of Chris Staples? Because, yeah, it's impacted me. So,
Oh, right on. Thanks, man.
so
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, when my mom was sick, I was kind of like focused on, kind of like the person she was right then, or like she wasn't herself basically. And you're just trying to tend
Yeah.
to this person that really needs your help. And then after she passed, then my brain went back to the person she was, and it's like, I hadn't been thinking about that because she was, had dementia and stuff. And, like as soon as, she passed away, we had at her service, we were just like talking about the way she was and things that she said and ways that she had a sense of humor and that kind of stuff. And, I think now that she's gone, like it kind of hits me when I don't expect it. It just like grief just like kind of comes whenever it wants.
Yeah.
Like I went to Joann's Fabrics the other day to get like a merch cloth for my merch table.
Yeah.
And I went back and like rang the little bell, and I was holding like the bolt of fabric, and this lady comes out and she looks like reminds me of my mom. And I'm just like, fuck. Like this lady thought I was like really upset about this fabric or something. But
like, sir, it's just fabric.
Sir, we can order you another one.
Get your shit together, man. That's funny. For those of you with attention spans like a dog on a walk in a field full of squirrels, we will continue this next week. If you're digging To Live Terminally, please like and subscribe and tell someone. Spread the word. Let's all get on it. Let's get after it and start living. All right? Okay. Bye-bye.